growing up without borders.
And today we'd like to welcome you to our channel. If you're new or if you've just discovered us, we are starting our 7 days in southern France.
And we'd like to welcome you to Aix-en-Provence. Yeah, and so nowadays you can just say Aix, but the younger generation still like to call it Aix-en-Provence.
There you go. So let's go for our tour. So the restaurant that you see here is called Les Deux Garçons, and it was open in, if you can imagine, 1792. And what's really cool about this place is it hosted people like Picasso and Cézanne. Cézanne was a famous artist in the area, and we're going to show you some of his sculptures and monuments here in the city. And then there was Pilaf and another one who I'm not familiar with at all, but his name was Camus. And so there you have it. This is a really iconic, I guess, cafe, brasserie. And a lot of the locals like to come in the afternoon, enjoy the sunshine, and enjoy a nice cold drink, and do some people watching. Did you guys see all that bread? That is just unreal.
I haven't seen anything that good.
That is the one thing that if you live in France, you'll probably miss by going to other countries, is all those beautiful pastries that we just showed you. Just unreal. So behind me is the Fontaine d'Eau Chaude. It was built in the 1700s, 1734, and it's nicknamed Mossy because, as you can see, there's like moss growing on it. And the water they bring in all the way from the hot springs, les baignets. So it's actually 18 degrees, so quite warm. And in the 1700s, early 1700s, they put a decree out there that you were no longer allowed to do your washing of clothes. So now it's just a beautiful fountain here right in the middle of the city square. Touch it and tell me what temperature the water is. Does it feel warm?
It's not freezing,
It's just comfortable?
yeah. It's refreshing water.
So for anyone who uses Fahrenheit, just so you know, 18 degrees is about 64 Fahrenheit. When you're in France, one of the things you're going to notice is that people, when they sit at a cafe or a little pub, they actually don't sit face to face. They all sit facing outwards so that they can almost like people watch. So you just sit there and enjoy your coffee and you watch people go by. And that's one of the things I found really interesting when we first arrived in France for the very first time. And I saw that. I thought that was so funny because I've never seen that in other places. So, I mean, in other European places, yes, you do see that. But I was coming from America side, so they have many beautiful sculptures in this city. This one's for arts and science. It was built in 1883. This fountain here, they're doing a lot of construction around it, but what it is called is it's Fontaine de la Rotonde, and basically it was built in 1860 and it's topped with 3 statues representing law, which faces the city, and then agriculture, which is facing Marseille, and then it has one for art facing Avignon. This exact cafe that you see right in front of us, we came here about 4 years ago. I'm not sure if I have a picture of it, but we literally sat at this cafe and enjoyed a nice coffee when the girls were small. Angelique would have been 7, Chloe was 5, and Julia was 9 years old, and now they're all grown up. Here's the sculpture from this view. So the girls just found Paul Cézanne.
And so he was born in 1839 and then died in 1906. So here's the statue.
This is their tourism office, and we're going to go in and see about getting a map of their city. So up there, that I think is a bell, and it's surrounded by an iron cage, and it was built in the 1400s, so very, very old. All the streets here, like they're all old Roman streets because Aix-en-Provence dates back to, it was actually founded by the Romans in 123 BC, and the reason why is because they have the hot and cold springs here. And so all the little streets that you see, the narrow little streets that you're seeing here are all, if you can imagine, that was loud. They all date back to the Roman times. This is one of our favorite bakeries here in France, and it's called Paul's, and they have the most delicious baguette sandwiches, and it's one of the things we love. And if you want to know the pricing, we got baguette sandwiches, and a cheese quiche and a couple drinks, coffee. We got a French macaroon, a raspberry pie, which is like a delicacy here, and something called millefeuille. And it all together came to about 25 euros. So we'll show you some of the highlights of what is to see and do here in Aix. And mainly one of the most favorite things we love to do is just roam around all the Roman old streets and enjoy the architecture and just enjoy that part of the city. Just get lost in the little streets. There's so many shops and of course cafes and shopping that you can do here. It is known as a shopping destination. So even though Aix is a small town, you can get around it very fast. I think it's only about 15 minutes literally to cross the whole downtown area there by foot. So it is quite small in that regards, but it still has so much to offer. You still have all the name brands that you would see in a big city, plus all the unique little shops that are typical either of France or just the unique artisans there selling their goods and services. So it's really nice. They have a beautiful nighttime market along the main street, and you have all the little vendors there, and it's wonderful. One of the things you'll notice when you're visiting Aix is there are a lot of students. So they do have 3 universities and many French schools, and so therefore there's just a lot of students in the streets, which makes it nice and lively. For those of you who don't know where Aix is basically 30 minutes from Marseille, and it's kind of like a nicer area, a little bit more upscale than Marseille. Like Marseille is one of the poorest cities in all of France, and but not to be missed nonetheless. It is still a beautiful city, as we are going to go visit it, so you will see in one of the upcoming videos. But Aix is just a little bit more of a nicer, kind of classier area. You guys have probably seen this store everywhere, like it's, I think, worldwide. And L'Aquitaine, I just found out, is an actual language. It would be similar, or have resemblance to Catalan, but it's an actual language from southern France, and there are still people who speak it. Something I didn't know. Above, just above every window, I'm not sure if you can see them, but they have these sculpted designs, and it's just simply beautiful and so old. So here is their Hôtel de Ville, which is basically their city hall. And it's got a beautiful tower here. It's got an Italian style facade. And then, as you can see, these beautiful ornate wooden doors. This was built actually in the 17th century. And in this square is where they actually have the flower market. It's held on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturday mornings. And then obviously there's all these little beautiful cafes and everything around. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Not sure what that is, but that's what I love about Europe. Everything has such cool history. Look in the distance there. You can see up top, there's sculptures literally on the building.
Along with the Americans, they helped gain back this city from the Nazis.
Yeah, and so they remember it with this plaque here that explains it. This is the coolest thing. We have never ever known this before, but the days of the week in French correspond to the planets.
So for example, the moon in French is lune, and Monday is lundi. So it's like moon for Monday. It's really cool.
And then Tuesday, which is mardi, was for Mars. And then Wednesday, which
Mercury.
is mercredi, is Mercury. And then Thursday
in French is jeudi, and like Jupiter.
Yeah, and then Vendredi is for Venus. And then samedi is for Saturn. And then dimanche is
the sun.
Sun, like Sunday. So
it doesn't really sound like
doesn't really sound French, but there
in
you go.
English, Sunday.
Yeah, isn't that cool? Oh, look at how beautifully presented everything is in these stores. Isn't that nice? This here is called Le Musée du Vieil Aix. So it's a museum of Aix in the olden days. Here, in case you want to come visit any of the museums here. This would be like some of the 17th century hotels and buildings and squares. So if you went in a travel machine back in time, you would literally come back and probably most of it would look exactly like it is right here.
So behind me is an outdoor opera house with beautiful wood carving doors. So we keep seeing tons of beautiful carved doors like this one. And this one actually I think dates back to the 12th century, which is crazy.
So this here is the Saint Saviour Cathedral. It's a unique monument because it was built over a large span of time from the 5th century to the 17th century. So it has a blend of architectural styles, which you can see on its facade. So you can see different Roman and then Romanesque and Gothic elements all within the same area, just because it was built over so many years. Okay, right now we're just a short distance from the city center and I'm going to take you on a quick tour of these beautiful gardens. This is the Pavillon de Vendôme. So let's go in and I'll show you. So this was the man's home. His name was Louis de Mercoeur and he was the Duke of Vendôme. And this pavilion is considered the loveliest, what they call folies, a pleasure house from the they call it the Grand Siècle, which was like the grand century, so the 17th century. And right now it's a museum, so it's open to the public and it displays exhibitions of modern and contemporary art and has objects and paintings all the way from the late 17th century to the early 18th century, and basically allows you to imagine what it was like living in that era. In Aix-en-Provence, I always think of like Marseille, and when I think of Marseille, this is what I think of here, this guy singing. So I was thinking like the rappers that are like, they speak verlan, which is like backwards language a little bit, slang, but just like this guy's rapping.
Je peux pas lui parler, c'est une top modèle, mes pinceaux s'en mêlent, je me mets à trembler, beauté irréelle, pas superficielle, elle me fait rêver. Je suis pas assez riche, pas assez charmant, pas assez marrant, musclé, élégant, trop introverti, j'ai des plaques pourries que je sais même pas raconter, pas de Ferrari, je suis pas assez cool, pas le mal alpha, pas une star de cinéma, plus bien toutes ces pensées, je me tire moi-même une balle dans le pied, je vais tout faire foirer, mais comment lui parler, comment être naturel, elle a l'air si à l'aise, moi je fais presque un malaise.
So this here is their business court. It says Tribunal de Commerce. And look at these amazing statues that they've built right in front of the door. Isn't that unbelievable? So this is really nice. I don't know if they do this like they said every night, but I'm not sure if it's every night all summer or just certain times of the year. But all along this walkway, they have these beautiful stands with all these unique handcrafted things that they make from the area, from the region, which is beautiful. Thanks for watching our tour of Aix-en-Provence. Make sure you guys subscribe, give us a big thumbs up. And if you want more information or you want to get some cool updates that we're going to be sending out, make sure you subscribe on our newsletter at growingupwithoutborders.com. See you next time.